And here we are. Welcome
Hey.
to Fine, I'll Watch It. I'm smoking Phat J.
I am Matt Christy, or whatever
Yes.
you see on screen.
Yeah.
It's Matt Noir and
Oh,
Cope,
Oh,
Mars.
nice.
Copelander and
Nice.
smoking Phat J Train. That's what we are
Yep.
tonight.
Nice.
Wait, does that mean I just have to stop talking the rest of the episode?
Well, you're Black Noir, but you still have Dan Schneider's head. So until you
There you
grace
go.
our presence in this studio again, you are fucking Dan Schneider. So
That would be a
Deal
reveal.
with it.
He takes off the mask, Dan Schneider.
Dan Schneider,
And
right there.
Hitmaker, Dan Schneider.
So listen, we are, as we are ever topical here on Final Watch It, we are reviewing season 1, episode 1 of The Boys, mainly because James Kopp has never seen this, and on this show has famously said how much he's disliked the comic. So
Yep. There's a for those out there who think I'm an entitled gatekeeper hater, I am. And there are famous comics are comics that really took off that I didn't like, and some I love just as much as other comic fans. I did not like the Walking Dead comic, and everybody else loved it. And then the Boys came out. I got to issue 6 on the Boys, and I was like, I haven't found any of this funny, any of this interesting, so I kind of just walked away from it. We'll get into some of the comics because there's a lot of nods already. Like the Simon Pegg acknowledgement right off the bat was kind of interesting. We'll get into it. I just watched. So every time somebody comes up with "Oh, The Boys season 1 or season 2 is coming out," I was like, "Yeah, I read the first season. Fuck that show." And I did the same thing with Walking Dead. I didn't watch the first season until a friend forced me to watch it. I didn't want to because I was like, yeah, I read that comic. I don't like that comic, And so it's hard to, if I already know the source material and I didn't like it, it's really hard to kind of sell me on it.
Very good. So we're going to get into it. We're going to get into this first episode of The Boys, the one that set it off. Now, right off the bat, like you said, differences, some major differences right off the bat from the comics in this. This is done by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg,
Eric
right?
Kripke.
What's
Really?
Eric Kripke?
Eric Kripke is the series creator.
Correct, right.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't onto this comic. I didn't read the comic until after I watched the first season of this show, and so I didn't really know. I mean, I'd heard the stories of what it was going to be going in, but I had no idea what to expect. And to me, in the same vein as Game of Thrones was, it's one of those series where when I tell people about it, I say, watch this first episode. If you're not into it after that, you're probably not into this. But if you are into this type of stuff, that first episode is going to grab you. You're going to be you're going to have a jaw-dropping moment in the first 5 to 7 minutes of the episode,
It's a really strong pilot, if nothing else. If you like the show, don't like the show, like the source material, like the concept, don't like the concept, superhero fatigue aside, the first episode's really well paced, gives you a lot of important world building and exposition. It does not spoon feed stuff to you, but it keeps you. It's a good pilot. It's just a good pilot, so that's nice.
Yep.
And a lot happens in this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I didn't get a chance to rewatch it. I did watch it not that long ago with a friend, so I'm going to be probably a little rusty. But let's do as we always do. Okay. I mean, I think it's a given that Matt and I liked this episode because we've continued to watch it now for 4 seasons. But James, going into this, being a hater as you always are, what were your general feelings on this first episode?
It's general feelings is it was strong enough both to keep my interest the entire time, and I know the characters and I know some of the outcome already. And I didn't care for it the first time around.
Well,
And
hold on.
yeah,
You know the outcome because of the comics, or you know the outcome because you've heard of what happens in the series.
like mostly thinking of stuff from the comics, like the comic lines that happens with the young female superhero and who was the Simon Pegg character, but is now this played by this other younger guy.
Yeah.
Dennis Quaid's
It's
kid.
Yeah.
Sure, there you
Quaid.
go.
Well, it is. It's Dennis Quaid's kid, Jack
Dennis
Quaid.
Quaid and Meg Ryan, right?
Oh, all right. And so I liked. I knew that, and I didn't care about any of that. I was pulled in by Homelander. Looks very different than what he was in the comics. Like the comics kind of had him looking like heavy metal superhero
Yeah.
jaw, almost cartoonish looking. And this felt like Zach Morris in a fucking superhero outfit, which for some reason almost made it a little both a little more sinister, but also a little more sympathetic. Like in the comic, he's drawn with such with more of a cartoonish style that it's hard to even find any of humanity in it.
Yeah, he just looks like the typical, villain bad guy,
Yeah,
big
like
goon.
but with the exaggerated stuff to a point of kind of cartoonish, like where it's like, yeah, they don't look like that. And so, what are you trying to say with this character? But
he looks very grown in a lab. This actor and the way that they portray Homelander, I think.
Yeah. He looks like he looks like the actor who's been bleached blonde to get as many roles as he can in the last couple years of his popularity. Like that's what he looks like. So it kind of had a different sort of feel for a lot of this and that in it. But yeah, I really like this first episode. I'm shocked that I like this first episode a lot.
All right. Well, Matt, do you want to take us on a ride through this episode so we can talk about some things?
We get some character introductions, and so something that I don't know if it really came up in the comic as much that will come up later in the seasons if you go further, James. The Maeve and Homelander save. As much as it looks real, it's very possible that none of it was real.
Yeah,
and that's something that happens. And so that save and the CGI / real, I found out some practicality in it with Maeve crashing the truck.
Mm-hmm.
So something that comes up later is that the Seven haven't saved anybody in forever.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's all PR.
Yep, it's all just made up. They have their assignments to save people as if it's just
that's the tone of the comic. Yeah. So like that's not too shocking. It's like
but the way
superheroes are just pieces of shit.
Well, no, but I'm saying no, everything is staged though. You find that out later, and so I don't know. I don't know if they had that intention fully in this first episode. I'm just bringing it up for that reason.
Well, I mean, they literally stage a murder in this episode. 3 murders.
There's that. I'm talking about the actual save at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Introduce them. Everything they say later is that all of it has always been staged.
Yeah.
Huh.
So it's very possible that even this is staged, but it's portrayed differently than it is in later on.
Yeah.
So I don't really have that intention in that first episode or not.
Yeah.
Later,
so
it's very much as you're going to a modeling gig. Like it feels very much like that, or a commercial. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So we got that introduction of Maeve and Homelander. Then we get the introduction of Huey and his very brief girlfriend, who go outside, and A-Train comes and obliterates her by running straight through her.
Yeah.
Which is from the comic, but is obviously something that is done very differently than it is in the comic.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely very different, but I think more impactful even, you know what I mean, than it was in the comic.
In the comic, it's played for a joke, and it's not a joke that is that funny. And It was like definitely not my sense of humor. Where they're in the park spinning, and he's holding her, and the Flash knockoff runs through her. and
Well, no,
splits her in half in the comic.
he throws somebody through her in the comic.
I think he throws
I
them
thought he
both in.
ran through her. Like he might maybe.
No, he's actually throwing a quote unquote villain.
Yeah.
So,
Through her, and then they both hit a barn or something like that, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's out at some.
But it's like kind of like in the comic anyhow. It's kind of played like for laughs.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like. What?
Well, the comics.
It's,
That's one of the major things is they do treat, and this may have been one of your biggest complaints with the comics because it wasn't something that I loved in it either. Was that they take these ideals much more seriously in this. Not to say there's not some very comedic things and very shocking things that they show you for shock value, and they do play it for comedy too. But the heart of it, like you say, like the joke of the playing Robin dying as a joke isn't funny because that's impactful to the storyline. That is the major point that sets Huey on this whole path. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Regardless if you're watching the show or you're reading the comic book. But there are other opportunities that they take that they can do that, but they do a lot more of those story points better justice in this show, in my opinion.
Yeah. I also think, when you alter mediums, everything changes. The movie I always reference and talk about is Sin City. Because we were like going to Stockdale when Frank Miller's Sin City comics came out. And I was like, oh my God, Frank Miller's got a new line. It's all filmed more. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait. And I read it and I was like, God damn it, you need an editor. And this is a fucking mess. I didn't like any of the Sin City comics, not one. And then the movie came out, and it's word for word and fucking shot for shot the comics, and I love that fucking movie to death. Yeah. So it was very interesting to see you can change one thing to to a different medium, and it takes on a whole new life. Mm-hmm. And and maybe it's the people's performances, maybe it's the fact that things aren't as cartoony drawn as it is in the comic. It's also a real. There's been no fucking Orko or Snarf that's shown up yet. And so the tone of this is kind of different, but yeah. Well,
I think that's one key thing though, is that Garth Ennis just went for whatever offensive thing he could throw on the pages.
Yeah.
And this is
taking. He was real pissed off when he wrote this. Like, he was. No, I know. He was real. Fuck the Justice League. I want to make a joke of them,
But it's also, which I'm for, but I'm always kind of like, what are you trying to say? Like
you had an opportunity to do it smarter, and luckily this show is doing that.
Well, yeah, the show is already like piqued my interest more than the comics. But how I referred to the boys is like the Watchmen for bros, where it was kind of like the Watchmen already kind of tackled this, like, hey. Unchecked, ultimate power. It should not be something we awe at. It should be something that terrifies the shit out of us, And it's the Watchmen kind of did that so well. For 20 years in comics, nobody even wanted to touch that topic anymore. And so I'm all for somebody trying to get into that topic again, like this one is. But in the comics, again, I've only watched one episode and I just finished like a half hour ago. So it's very fresh for me. But in the comics, it's played so cartoony and so like sinister, twirly mustache without the twirly mustache, that after a while I was just kind of like, but you're not really saying anything with it. Mm-hmm. Like, people are pieces of shit. And if you had a horrible douchebag that had the powers of God, that would be a fucking nightmare.
Yep.
What are you saying with it? Just like, wouldn't it be a nightmare?
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know. Like, for me, that always was a hurdle with the comic I couldn't get over.
Oh, well. Hopefully you continue down the path because I think you'll be much.
I kind of like after just watching the first episode of this, I'm way more interested to watch more of this.
Oh, yeah.
This leans more heavily on the satire, but done well.
Yeah,
not trying to be offensive. Yeah, by the time season 4 rolls around, they're doing the whole shtick of we got to have at least one scene of graphic violence or whatever.
and I want to say this shit right now. I got a real fucking problem with the word satire. I got a real motherfucking problem with the word satire. Okay,
That's fine.
because every time something sucks,
Mhm.
Hollywood slaps satire on it. And no, ladies and gentlemen of the future, whoever is watching this at any time, please take this to heed. Blazing Saddles is satire. We don't call it satire; it's just a comedy. RoboCop is definitely satire. We don't call it satire; it's just an action movie. There is satire all over the fucking place that is genius, and it is so good we don't call it satire because it doesn't need to be called anything other than the thing it is. It's so good it works on its own. The satire is built in. When something sucks, they're like, "Oh, it's satire." No, 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 no,
You could
no.
use
You
the
tried to make a comedy and you fucked up. You tried to make an action movie or you tried to make a drama and you fucked up. It's a comedy that isn't funny. Like that is what we call an epic fail. So what you need to do is just own that. Like, oh, it's not that funny because we were really focused on pointing out this one thing.
It's kind of like the same analogy they use for porn. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but I know it when I see it.
Yeah,
You
I
don't
mean,
have
it's
to.
just
You don't
like
have to put a name on it.
yeah, it's just yeah, it's go watch Blazing Saddles or RoboCop or any of those, and that you are getting the satire the whole time, but you're not thinking about the satire you're getting because these are great works of art, and I think when something sucks, rather than just saying it's good, we are like, oh, it's satire, and so I find that to be a dirty word.
Well, that's fine. Well, then I'm still going to use it for you if you're going to continue watching the show to
All
see
right.
later on if we talk about this again how you think it's progressing.
All right.
Because when I say satire for this, it's not satire to go out of the way of of the story it's trying to tell. It's satirizing things just in reality and using that as beats to help move the story along, but it's not necessarily dependent on that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it
So
does have heart, and like you say, you said earlier, The Boys is just Watchmen for bros. The comic does feel that way a lot. This team of The Boys does not feel the same.
This does not. This feels very, very socially aware of things going on. Fucking the Homelander side had like Blue Life Matters banners. I was like, okay, we get it. We get it.
Yep.
We
Oh,
get it, guys.
that-
Oh, so subtle.
No,
Uh,
there's no subtlety going
yeah.
forward as
Yeah,
far
the
as that
most
goes.
fantastical thing in this episode were the cops were trying to stop the protesters.
Yeah.
Like, that was like the cops were actually cool guys at the protest. Like, nah, that shit didn't happen. So, but I was a little shocked how well the commentary of stuff that they were kind of saying, and it's still, God, man, the comic especially is always like it. Every panel ends with somebody trying to fucking molest or rape somebody. It like happens multiple times, and I think one of the reasons why everybody attacked me with The Boys when it first came out in comic book form was because I was a huge Simon Pegg fan, and if you go back and you look at The Boys comics, Simon Pegg was obviously, and they came out and said it, was the basis for the lead character.
Yeah.
Shaun of the Dead had just come out 2 years before that, and Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg and Nick Frost and pretty much everybody from Shaun of the Dead worked on a TV show called Space for 2 seasons, which is really great, and you can definitely see that that sort of Simon Pegg character already in this guy.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, I don't know, there was like the heart's in the right place, but doesn't know really how to function with this. But can we go to can we talk about fucking Carl's accent in this? On a scale, real quick, guys, real quick, on a scale, like this is almost Christian Bale Prestige bad, where it's just like, I know you
for his natural voice though.
I
damn
tell
it, they
you
always pull
right now, I don't care what you say. I fucking love it. I love it.
He's what.
I feel like it is so appropriate for this character. Like, I think that they tone him down a bit, obviously, from the comic, but still, he's kind of got to be this ultra charming, just rugged fucking badass,
Yeah.
you know? And again, I really like the look that they went with, and they didn't go with the cartoony, because he, like Homelander, looked like a caricature of the fucking Punisher.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And they didn't do that with him.
No.
They but yeah, and I first off, what's Carl's? Is Carl Urban?
Carl Urban.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a national treasure. I don't know what country he's from, because every time his voice is a fucking different thing each time. And this was, I felt like the Gen Zers, where I was going to put on the closed captions every time that motherfucker came on the screen, because like there was definitely a 60-40% rate.
That's mostly, it's just that.
It's just mostly oi cunt.
Yeah, sure. It's just like, good lordy, like yeah. I'm not alone in that, right? Like, we didn't all understand him perfectly.
Listen,
I understood.
I understand him fine now. Like, honestly, I hear him talk to me in my dreams.
Oh, it's the drunk. It's the drunk that didn't understand.
But is it this? I don't think it's this episode, but it might be the next episode where we get the line, "Oi, isn't it the invisible cunt?" Which is the best meme that ever came from this show.
He's already had some good moments in this. He's great. Like, him cast as almost anything is normally good casting. So, yeah, I'm really shocked how much I like the cast. But yeah, every time he spoke, I got Christian Bale, The Prestige. Go back and watch The Prestige, and cut out all those beautiful shots and shit, and just listen to the scenes where Christian Bale's talking.
Well, and Christian Bale and his voice is, there's several conversations we could have.
Oh my goodness. Like, it's Hugh Jackman is from Australia, and he's the only person in that movie with a British accent. Christian Bale doesn't have a British accent. He has some sort of mud people talk, like it's some the bog country. So yeah, quite marvelous.
All right, well, take us to the second scene of this show, this episode,
okay.
Matt.
So after we got the annihilation of Robin at the hands of A-Train,
yes.
We're now introduced to Starlight for the first time. The young
her little Rocky montage there at the beginning, it was nice.
Yeah, showing her from her Midwestern days. This innocent girl wanting to be part of the Seven. She gets invited. She gets accepted to the Seven, and we're introduced to the rest of the Seven at that point. We have the Deep, the Aquaman knockoff, who has survived a lot longer than anybody thought he would have.
Yeah.
Who they tried to make the most offensive character on the show, and they do a pretty good job of that. You're introduced to
also just maybe the weirdest, which is somehow amazing on this show too.
As the show goes on, yes,
yeah.
it is.
All right.
Spoilers, James. He at one point has a full-on hidden in the closet relationship with an octopus.
Nice.
That literally lives in his closet.
Nice.
And he has sex with.
Yeah, well, I hope so.
Mm-hmm.
Good lordy, if you're gonna have an octopus secret, it better be that you're having sex with the octopus. Like, it's like no other secret with the octopus. Like, not like, well, we robbed banks. Like, we're ripping off the government through like disability claims.
Though, have you seen those octopuses that get out of the jar in the tanks? An octopus bank robbing partner, probably pretty good.
There you go.
They don't need
there
a lot.
Go.
I mean, just fish. Fish is cheap. Like, their cut's nothing.
The fucking Amazon Prime pitch right there.
Mm-hmm.
The octopus bank thieves.
Yeah.
But see, Jared's bearing the lead on that whole thing, though. Not only is he having an affair with an octopus, that octopus is voiced by Tilda Swinton.
That is.
Nice.
True. That is true.
Yep.
I did forget that.
As you go watching the show, they bring them some people every once in a while to say, "Oh, hey."
Yeah.
All right.
But we get the whole, well, not the whole Seven, because one is gone, and that's the reason why Starlight's
Yeah.
taken over. Or
Well, yeah,
Joy.
the character named as Lamplighter is no longer part of the Seven.
That's their
He quote unquote.
Green Lantern with fire.
Yeah. We get interest for Translucent, showing that he's kind of a pervert using his invisibility powers to perv on all women. And we get introduced to Black Noir, and you don't know much about Black Noir because the show doesn't want you to know much about Black Noir
Yep.
at this point. But spoiler alert for you, James, it's not the same as the comic.
No, definitely.
Oh,
It's very different.
Okay.
He is completely different.
Okay.
So then that's probably one of the smarter things that they did. Because yeah, if you read the comic, yeah, it's like, oh, I know what's going to happen. I know who Black Noir is. I know where this is going. Nope, not going that way at all.
If you make it better than the comic, I never bitch. Like, it's
Well, it's not over yet, so that's yet to be seen. But it's
Okay,
definitely not going to be the same.
Dude, this first episode's already better than the fucking comics. I paid to read, motherfucker. Like, I bought them comics.
I mean,
didn't get an apology.
Technically, you're paying to watch this as well, but that's okay.
Yeah. I bought the Spider-Man Clone Saga, Marvel. Like, still waiting on an apology. Still waiting. This is 98.
You missed the comic.
That ain't coming, bro. That's not coming.
You missed the comic where they put it as in the sidebar as an asterisk item.
Anyway.
What else we got going on?
We get introduced to the politician.
We get introduced to the mayor of Baltimore, yeah, and introduced to Madeline Stillwell.
Yep.
A very important character for season 1.
Very important. That's right.
For season 1, who is the one who is in charge of basically the organization known as the Seven, and
the superhero division,
and the face of Vought Industries at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Also a new mama, which is very important.
Also a new mama, which is important? Question mark.
Oh, it's very important. It's very important for a long time.
Sure.
I mean, it sets a path in motion. You know what I mean?
No, it does, but at the same time, where's the baby?
Yeah. Well, I think they mentioned something about it, didn't they, this season? The latest season?
I don't remember, but that's the only thing that's been bugging me. Yeah, she has a baby. The baby's shown. The baby is alive, but the baby's never mentioned again.
At the end. Oh, okay. Either way.
No, that's what I'm saying. The baby's alive, but that's it. That's the last time the baby.
So yeah, we're introduced to everyone. Then we get the assault scene, right?
Yeah.
Which is very different from the comic. It's just the Deep, and not like a whole circle jerk of people like it is in the comic. Which I think, especially how they all kind of play that out, I think that was a smart move.
Yeah. It was. I liked the entire scene. I liked everything. I even like her trying to reason with them at the end. Like, hey, quit. Like in the comic, that kind of thing is played more for like, again, evil twirly mustache. As where this one, with the dialogue and the performer, it very much felt like, hey, we could totally kill you guys off at any time. Stop it. Like, it's because that's more work for us, and we just got done with a big trial. So it's not in our interest to just keep killing off fucking morons, which that's kind of what it felt like, which was kind of nice, where it was like, oh, this is, we're getting kind of more of a humanized version of these monsters.
Well, it feels, like, again, in the comics, it feels a little bit more like a, what do they call it? Like when you're in like a not a sorority, but what's the male version of that? A fraternity.
Yeah.
Well, it feels very fratty when like the three of them are gonna make her suck their dicks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When it's a one-on-one thing where this guy is just exploiting his power over this chick, and we know it's bullshit, but she don't know it's bullshit, and we see her
Yeah.
break down and do what she doesn't want to do, and we see Maeve kind of being like, "Hey, bitch, fucking, that's the way it is around here." You know what I mean? Where you're just like, "Oh shit, this is a real fucked up environment." But I think also with the way that they develop other characters, because I think it was Black Noir and Homelander that were also in that scene in the comic, and it's much better that that Homelander's above shit like that, kind of. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like he's
yeah,
above
yeah.
that shit. And Black Noir for his characterization, like, you know what I mean? It makes absolute sense why he wouldn't be involved in something like that. Like for the story that they're telling uh, in this television series, like, you know, it absolutely wouldn't have made sense to have either of those characters there. So the Deep,
Well,
100% makes sense.
yeah, and something that's going to happen this season, James, is that they're actually going to have something that happens to the Deep as a repercussion for it.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, the Deep's
I
going to
mean-
pay for it in several different ways, I think, over the next couple seasons, if I remember.
Yeah,
right.
oh yeah, no, he continues to pay for it, but there's actual consequences against them for against him for doing it at all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So whereas in the comic, again, Garth Ennis is basically just doing whatever he can to be offensive, and hell with anything else beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess when we talked about Carl Urban, we glossed over the reason why Butcher shows up, right? Because he shows up to Huey's work, doesn't he? Is this where we're at? Where he shows up to Huey's work to talk to him, and you know,
because what A Train did,
mm-hmm.
Introduces himself as a Fed,
Mm-hmm.
which we find out later is bullshit, but we find
Sure.
out later that it's not necessarily bullshit.
Right.
It's a
It's
weird
kind of
thing.
whatever he needs to be.
Yeah.
I do like too, like I really love a lot of the actors, and I think Jack Quaid is wonderful in these scenes, like these dilemmas that he has, those moments that he has through this episode with his dad, and his dad kind of being like, "Hey, you need to fucking take this money. This is the best shit that you're gonna get." Like they don't even have to give you this money, really. Yeah, like he's very pragmatic. He's like, you know, take it, do what you got to do, and get through. And you know, Huey's little like, you know, that tension that you can feel inside of him, and it makes sense. It really makes sense because of the way that they treat this so earnestly that they don't do in the comic as much, where you really feel and get a reason why he would then go ahead and do this. You know, go ahead and try to get back at these people, you know, who killed his girlfriend right in front of him and don't give a fuck, and you know, all these things. You know, you feel that, and I think that's a big tribute to Jack Quaid as an actor, because he does a real great job at that.
There's not a bad actor in the bunch. Like there's nobody. Yeah, a couple of the kids are not that strong, but it's like it's hard to find really good kid actors. So I didn't take that as an offense. But yeah, there's nobody that's miscast, I think, so far. A very different. It's a different take than the comic, but that's all working in its benefit right now.
You know, so Eric Kripke took points from the comic, and basically put together a cohesive story.
All right.
There was an underlying story in the Boys comic, but
Yeah.
like, I mean, I'll keep going back to it. Garth Ennis just threw a bunch of offensive stuff in there, retaliation against how he felt he was treated with DC and everything else like that, and it's like, I'm going to take shots at all these people and make them just overdone parodies of the characters and just make them terrible people.
The Mad Magazine version of the Justice League.
Yeah, except like that's the problem I get with this satire bit. It's like Mad Magazine makes me laugh every now and again, like the Boys comic never really did. And so Heavy Metal, other than seeing well drawn female anatomy, every now and again would have an interesting story or a funny character or an interesting something. And I didn't read all the Boys, so I might be undercutting it more than it deserves. But what I read, I was just kind of like, I'm not fucking interested in this.
Yeah.
And I do get interested in quite a bit, but yeah, this was just not a tone I was really interested in.
Yeah, I think the comic definitely has its moments.
Yeah.
To me, I had probably more enjoyment than you did with it, but I still, hands down, think the show's doing a much better job.
Like I said, I'm gonna go watch the next couple episodes. So like that's like the best compliment I can give because I don't like that world. Like, you know,
Oh,
it's hard,
I think that's 100% on purpose. Like, you are not supposed to like this world.
I
You're
know, but
supposed to live feeling like every time that I think about the boys' world, like living as a normal human in that universe. Like, even when you do those thought experiments in the DC universe or the Marvel universe, like, this would really probably suck being a normal human in any of these worlds, because there's some fucked up shit going on. You think we're pissed off because of the shit that's going over in fucking Israel and shit like that right now? Imagine living in even the best of the comic book universes. It sucks. But at least Superman's trying to fucking save you.
Yeah.
You know, none of these motherfuckers are trying to save you. They are causing havoc, and it is a nightmare world where you are at a moment's whim going to be prey to something godlike. Really, you know what I mean? And that's crazy.
An actor we knew, Jacob Weber, who's gone now. I always thought he was kind of a nightmare. I know many people have loved him and have fond memories of him. He had the funniest fucking joke, which was during Dark Knight Rises. We were like hanging out when it came out, and I was like, "Man, Christopher Nolan keeps saying, oh, I want to go real, I want to go real,' and then like a terrorist takes over a major American city, and nobody does shit." And Jacob Weber was like, "With how much problem Gotham is, do you think the U.S. government was just like, let's see what Bane does with it? Like, you know, like man, maybe
Isn't
Bane
this
should
supposed
have
to
a
be a bunch of experiments, right? Like, that's what we came here for, right? Let's see how this goes.
It's but like you could still have a really negative universe and write it well. I always talk about, I think it's Warren Ellis's Ruins, which was a play off Alex Ross's Marvels that they did at Marvel. Ruins is beautifully written, and it is the most gut punch fuck you, if you love comics, you'll ever read. Like, I read it and I was depressed for a week. Everything you love about comic books is just absolutely shit on in that book, and shit on well, where it is kind of like a heartbreaking truth behind each of one of those characters you might love, and like that hurt. The boys didn't hurt, you know. It's like the boys just kind of felt like, yeah, you don't like these characters, or you don't like this sort of the concept of this world, and there is an argument to be made there. You know, it's the argument's kind of like Elliot Ness. You know, the Elliot Ness famously was he's stopping Capone. He's keeping Chicago clean, right? No alcohol can be allowed. And then they're like, oh my God, they just repealed prohibition. Alcohol's allowed. And he's like, I guess I'll go get a drink. Now, as a kid, you think like, wow, that guy's so cool because he follows the letter of the law. Then you kind of get older and you're like, what a fucking Nazi. Like, that guy would have been okay rounding up any group of Jews or black people during slavery because it's the law. Like, you're like, no, fuck that guy. And fuck, like, his bullshit belief of any sort of noble stride. And so you kind of get, like, when you get older, not necessarily cynical towards that view, but very much like a real world version of it. And while the boys might have a real world representation, I don't know if it tells us anything. And that's my feeling on the comics. Now, I think they said more in this first episode than what I ever read in the comics. So I'm willing to give the show much more of a try moving forward and kind of telling that story.
The only unfortunate thing is that you started so late, so you didn't get to watch season 4 as it premiered.
Okay.
Because there's stuff in season 4 that it's obviously taking from the real world, everything like that. It had things happen before they actually happened in the real world.
Oh boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that two different comic book properties have premiered something in this that just like that before it happened, because also the first trailer from that new Captain America movie also had some very similar things happen.
You just say that because you think Joe Biden's going to turn into a red monster, don't you?
I
Like,
mean,
you
I've
think
seen that already.
I've already seen it. I've already seen.
He's,
Oh my god! If he
you know
doesn't get his ice cream,
That's right.
like
It's Red Hulk versus Orange
it's
Hulk.
Red Hulk all the way. Oh my god! I so want a Joe Biden Red Hulk
Oh
now.
yeah.
Like I so want he's coming to your town trying to
Hey.
fix your roads and shit.
Before next week,
like-
you're gonna have to work on that. You heard that. A Joe Biden Red Hulk.
Well, Joe Biden Red Hulk. So he's trying to get fucking electricians back to work and shit. Like I love it. So he gets mad at high gas prices. Oh my goodness.
The madder he gets, the more money that goes to Ukraine.
I know exactly. Oh man.
Better watch
Biden
out.
smash. Yeah.
Biden.
Biden used diplomacy. It's gonna be a weird time, guys.
It's gonna be that we got weird times ahead. That's all right.
Yeah.
Let me put it this way for season 4. They changed the title of an episode.
Great.
Because there was an episode titled Assassination Run.
Hey, how come we haven't seen any with the Benny Hill music? Like, I know, like, it might be not great to joke about, but like, he was kind of like attempted to assassinate that Donald Trump fellow. But like, there should be Benny Hill music playing while that happens, right? Like, we should have that video clip.
I see you make TikToks every day, so why is that not
There you go.
exist? James
I
Kopp,
think
Pack-A-Day Productions at TikTok.
I know.
Check it out.
I know, fucking...
He's the big baller in here. This is our celeb. This is our TikTok celeb from his multi-million views.
Yeah. What is it? Fucking Smokey the Bear got a bunch of views, and that made me laugh because it was just like it's Smokey the Bear, and I'm making fun of the fact that we live in a state that's constantly on fire.
Well, you know, I mean, yeah, like everything being on fire. That's a pretty popular, meme. So you gotta put that out there. All right, so Christy, what else we got going on in this episode?
So we got Butcher meet up with Huey and takes him to this superhero hangout bar.
Yeah, that's right.
Where of anything of importance, we meet Ezekiel for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Fantastic Powered Preacher.
Yeah, I love that he's very youth pastor, that kind of bullshit. I like that. And then he's in there, doing the whole, he's the pray the gay away guy that's in there fantasticaring.
He is the best Catholic priest there is.
Yeah, definitely.
High bar. It's a high bar to get over.
I know.
Yeah,
the
he takes Huey in there to show him A-Train and his buddies talking shit.
Yeah, talking shit about Robbins. He knew what he did. And that sets Huey down this different path, and Butcher tries to leverage it into convincing Huey to take a bug to Vought Tower when he goes to accept the money. But at that point, Huey says no. And then we go over to a scene where now he meets Annie January, Miss Starlight, in the park for the first time.
Yeah,
and
very, very much mirroring the comic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They have their conversation, and they set themselves on a path that'll run the rest of the season.
Really? Okay.
Just their attitude towards how they're going to go about things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean, Annie makes a decision at that point that she's going to fight back against what Deep did to her, and Huey uses that to make the decision that he's going to go to Vought Tower and to plant the bug for Butcher. So he does that. He goes and declines the money in the end, but sets the bug. because he declines money because A-Train doesn't give him a real apology.
Yeah, he gives him a bullshit apology.
Yep.
He does end up declining the money in the end, which is the thing that Butcher needed to see. You know what I mean? That he rips up the check and he's like, dude, it's not about the fucking money. I don't really give a shit.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just glad that I got back at these guys somehow.
But but Translucent finds the bug and realizes that Huey left it. And then we go to Translucent coming into Huey's electronics shop near the end of the day in his invisible form and starts taunting him. And right as he's about ready to kill Huey, we got Butcher busting in through the window with his car, knocking it back.
And then the fight ensues. I really love this fight. I just like the this is something that I love about Butcher through. He is the improvised fucking combat fucking dude. You know what I mean? He knows what's up. Oh, you punched me in my face. I'm gonna spit on you so I can fucking see you now, motherfucker. And we're gonna fucking duke this out. You know?
Yeah.
And also, I just love the Huey of it all, figuring out something too. Like he, like you feel this apprenticeship thing start in this moment here, where it's like he rips up the check. The Butcher is like, okay, this guy's worth it. You see Huey get into trouble. Butcher comes in to take care of the shit because he's still watching him because he feels that he's worth it. And you see Huey kind of prove himself again by thinking on his feet and, incapacitating Translucent in the end. I really love this scene. Thought it was great.
Yep, and then you've got cut to the final scene of, or I forget if that was the final scene of the other one, but you got Homelander listening to the conversation that Stillwell has with the mayor of Baltimore. And because Homelander right now and his character has this affection for Stillwell, he makes his own decision to go and take out the mayor by blowing up his plane in midair with everybody on board. Showing Homelander.
It starts off this feeling of an unhinged character again. Yeah. I think very smart not including him in that earlier sexual assault scene because he feels like now, like at the end of this episode, I felt that he was very much this obsessed, almost obsessed fan type thing where it's like, oh, well, you don't have to ask. I know what you need done, and I'm going to go take care of these things for you. You know what I mean? Whether or not.
Well, and not just that, but to that point, Homelander seems like the Superman type. Like he does have the interest of all. That's what they're trying to portray with him, and then this act, it's like, oh no, he's a little more ruthless.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But he's ruthless, but there's also a little bit of complexity, a little bit of a complex character here. I know I've been drinking, but it's I think like one of the things the comics didn't really do that well that this does much better is the fact that he's obviously going through a midlife crisis, and the comics didn't really. They were like, no, Superman's just a dickhead. So in this one, it really feels like, in this show anyhow, it really feels like, oh, he's going through shit and doesn't know what he is or what his legacy is or anything. And so that's why he's lashing out. That might be more of a understandable explanation of why he's such a piece of shit.
This Homelander, like, they do so much more justice to the Homelander character in this series compared to the comic, and they haven't even. This episode isn't even tip of the iceberg for
all right
how complex and how much better that is served. It's crazy to me that he has not won an Emmy for his performance yet. Honestly.
Man, awards don't mean shit.
I
Don't worry
know,
about it.
but I'm just
Yeah.
saying it's one of those things where it's like this. Like you feel like this guy's jaw is going to explode. Like you feel like this part of his fucking jaws is gonna explode every episode. You're just like, dude.
There's no moment I didn't think he was an actor. You know, like it was like he really does a great job of. You feel like, oh, this really is a guy. This is the saddest fuck guy you've ever met. He just happens to be also Superman's power
But
level.
the fact that he would be an actor isn't different either, because it's like this guy is that too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they are so much that, all of them in a way. Yeah. So, is there anything else we want to say about this episode, or should we go and rate it?
Not much else to say about this episode because the season. I mean, as the season goes, you get more and more character development and everything like that. The only thing that I'll mention about this episode, for those who may still not have seen it or whatever, the other two main characters are not introduced in this episode. Those being Mother's Milk and Frenchie.
That's true, and they're great characters.
They are. They're introduced episode 2, but
they were both great
characters.
characters in the comics as well, and Kimiko. But I do think that Mother's Milk was maybe a little bit more interesting in the comic book, and maybe they could have done more than that. I understand why they kind of wanted to stay away from most of the boys having powers, and maybe they just made that decision for Kimiko to be the one to do that. But
I think it serves it better that you have the normal person going against the superheroes
I
and
do
having
agree
to
with that. But I liked Mother's Milk's story in the comics as to why he does have powers. It's weird. I'm not going to say it's not real weird, but the story with his brother and the story with his dad, which they touch on a bit, but the fact that he has powers and it's not from, because in the comic books, they all take V. They all take like some permanent V. It's part of being the boys. You got to fight superheroes. You got to have superpowers. And I understand that reasoning too. All right.
Yeah.
But they're playing more of a morality high ground kind of shit in this show for the most part. And they do get into V stuff later. But the fact that most of these guys don't do it is fine. But Mother's Milk in the comics has the powers not from taking that V. It's from, it's a whole story about his mom working at this place and drinking the titty milk, the blah. It's weird. It's weird boy shit. But like I thought,
comics gets weird too. We always talk about like the mutants, but Juggernaut has a magic fucking stone that makes him Juggernaut.
Yeah.
So getting weird is okay.
Yes. Well,
it's
look,
all right to get
he
weird
had a mentally challenged brother in the comics. You didn't get this far, James, but he had a mentally challenged brother in the comics, and his mom worked at some sort of a place for Vought where they'd made V, and it was in the water or whatever, and they all got it. And when they were pregnant, blah, 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 right? Moms ends up getting cancer. The kids have latent powers that come in later. Well, the brother turns into this crazy mutant that grows all of a sudden, but because he was mentally challenged, he wore a fucking helmet, right? He wore like, the mentally challenged helmet. And
okay.
And when he blew up and hulked out, the helmet crushed his fucking head. His head started growing, helmet wouldn't let it do it, crushed his fucking head. It's fucked up. It's a fucked up story. It was a fucked up part in the comic book that made me go, like, it gave me pause. It was a good part in the comic. So for Mother's Milk, I think he's not as well served in this show as he was in the comic. Frenchie, on the other hand, Kimiko, on the other hand, so many of the others, completely opposite feeling. But Mother's Milk's the one that it's like, it would have been cool to see the effects of, like, we get some in Kimiko, but I would also like to have seen the effects of, hey, Vought didn't give a fuck and was willing to poison people's shit and do all these things and make kind of these freaks. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
Mother's Milk in the comics is a freak too. He's mostly normal looking, got super strength and all this bullshit, but he's got to go still drink his mom's titty milk every once in a while. Like, you know, like that's a real fucked up thing, you know? That's a detriment, or he'll die.
Not in Arkansas.
Well, you know, he lives in New York. You know what I mean?
Our
You gotta-
viewers,
you gotta
viewers
sneak.
in Arkansas, we would like to apologize, like for our insensitivity.
We don't apologize. We don't apologize.
I know.
To your daily plight.
Honestly, I kind of feel like Mike Myers with Kanye West right now, that you would even pull such a bomb like that. Like, I feel a little out of the element. How dare you insult our hillbilly brethren and whatever they're into.
Look it, man. It's good for you, bro. It's just good for you.
There you
bro.
go. It's Mother's Milk.
Yeah, that's it. Let's rate this bitch. Now listen, we are in a new studio tonight. I'm the only one in the studio. We're all off location, and we can't actually see the screen. None of us can see the screen right now because I forgot a cord. So that's
I
my
want
fault.
you all to know I am drunk in my garage and I am having a blast.
Huh? That's what I'm getting to. I'm telling you about the picture. So
All right,
our
all right.
rating system is either Huey and Robin lovingly looking at each other for a 1.5 is Huey splattered in blood and holding Robin's
Oh.
2 hands for a half.
Oh,
So what do you guys?
Oh, it's not. It's
I'm
not
sorry,
changing
just
my
the hands.
score.
Just the hands.
It's not changing my score.
That's fine. All right.
My
So
score is including
Matt
a half.
Noir. Matt Noir. What is
Uh,
yours?
I'm going to give it a 4.5. It is one of the better pilots, as James mentioned earlier.
yeah.
It gets you into the world. It gets you a taste of these characters and makes you want to know what's going to happen with them, where they're going with it, and everything else like that. And gets you a little taste of the cynical nature of the superhero business within the boys, and that you have a hierarchy of superheroes and common man trying to fight back against the superheroes, but with a justified reasoning, not this we just don't like superheroes. What?
Oh no. She's putting the rating up. You're all right. Go
Oh,
on.
okay, cool.
I will go next.
4.5?
I will
4.5.
go next, and I will say I give this still a 5. This is like the first episode of Game of Thrones for me. I think this is like the first episode of The Walking Dead. I think this is one of those things where if you are into it, and you know, to varying degrees, Walking Dead and Game of Thrones don't land the fucking plane well, I think. But
Oh, that's
you're
okay.
gonna have, if you like that first episode, you are going to have several seasons of a good time. And so far
Yeah.
for the boys, I think you're gonna have a 85% of a good time to what I've seen so far, and that would include the spinoff Gen V. So you know, this is a 5 for me. This is a 5. This is a 5 pilot for a series for me.
And I'm coming into this late. You know, I just watched this a half hour ago, and I don't like the comic. I'm giving this a 4 out of 5, where it was I came in with certain expectations being very low. Of like, yeah, I know the source material. I didn't like it. I get what you're trying to say. I don't think you're actually saying anything. Shitty people are shitty people. Why, motherfucker? Or how do we deal with that? Or what is society based on that? And I never found that in the comic The Boys. I found a lot more of that insight in Watchmen or in Ruins, or even, you know, even in like one-off like sort of comics that we talk about that stay with us. But The Boys, I never really saw much. I didn't see any merit in doing a show or a movie or anything on it. It felt like an angry writer's rant. And this gave me so much and so much intrigue that I was kind of like, and not just that the actors are kind of all solid in this. Yeah, it's a 4 out of 5. I'm gonna watch the show now, and I would have never watched any of this.
That's why
So.
we do this show. He literally said, "Fine, I'll watch it." When we told him what we were doing, this is why we do it. And so far, it's been pretty successful for the most part. I think we've got you on Doom Patrol. This
Fucking great show.
and there's at least one other one.
No, we've tried to get him on Rebels. We've tried to get to watch those 2 episodes.
No, yeah, there's a couple episodes of Rebels and Clone Wars. That's never going to happen.
I just convinced a bunch of young kids to watch the Chipmunk Adventure to show like the next generation how fucked up.
The new one?
No, I don't know the new one, my friend. I'm talking 1987's Chipmunk Adventure in the hot air balloon.
Yes.
And,
with the Chipettes.
Diamond smuggling. With the Chipettes.
James, I cannot believe you mentioned this movie because I may have seen this cartoon more than anything. Because
I love that cartoon.
My younger cousin Nicole, she loved that fucking movie and played it constantly at my grandma's house. And so,
please.
Yes, were they on the hot air balloon race?
Hot air balloons. Please watch it as an adult.
Because we're the girls of rock and roll. Right?
Yeah, but please watch it as an adult. Please watch it as an adult.
When we have an off week.
Yeah.
All right. I know we're going to talk about what we're doing next week, but the next off week we have, I think that's the one we have to stream. And yes, I think.
Oh my God.
I think
it's a children's movie about diamond smuggling, fucking blood diamond smuggling, terrorists, and a comically overly sexualized world. It's
overly
marvelous.
Sexualized. Yes. Chipmunk.
They tried to steal the Chipettes.
The
Chipettes get sold into sex slavery at one point. In this children's movie, the Chipettes are sold into sex slavery.
They're literally in a harem. They're in a harem.
It's not even a major plot point.
No.
Like it's
not
one
of those that happened. Yeah, exactly.
That happened. Let's move on.
There's
Let's
also
just move on.
There's also okay. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get a still ready because there's actually a part in this movie that is very like fucking dicks in the background of fucking Little Mermaid that I want to have a long discussion.
I fight with everybody.
Yes.
I fight with everybody on this because I was like, as an adult male who's lived my life of several 40 years, I've seen my fair share of pornography. I've never seen as many dicks as I've seen in the snake scene with the Chipettes. It is like, and the song is "I Want to Get With You." Is the song. I want to get lucky with you.
Getting lucky.
And
you don't know how cathartic this conversation that we're having right now is.
So
for me.
many dicks.
Like I can't believe
so many dicks.
That we brought this up. We have to shelve this though. We have to shelve this because we have to have a whole episode on this. We are going to do the Chipmunk Adventure.
Please go watch it
as
an adult.
No.
Oh my God.
Don't watch it. Wait.
Yeah.
Get it ready because we're going to watch it. We're going to do one of our live episodes soon on this one. We have to do it. But let's move on and talk about what we're doing next week. What are we doing next week? Matt Christy.
Next week, we're coming back to what we were intended to do a couple weeks ago, but things happened. We're going to watch Roger Corman's Fantastic Four.
We are going to watch
Good
Roger
Lord.
Corman's Fantastic Four. Now, we're gonna do this one live. We're gonna watch this all together, correct?
Oh yes. Okay, it's on YouTube.
Where the fuck are we watching an illegal movie?
It's not. No, it's on YouTube.
It's
Full
on
thing's
YouTube.
on YouTube.
All right. Okay.
It's on YouTube. It might be a little bit weird, but we will watch it together.
And how dare I say illegal? The whole reason it got made was because they had the rights.
It was
for 30 days.
Yes, it was all a fucking scam. So
it's like if your Uncle Joe got the rights to Wizard of Oz for 30 days. It was like, hey, want to be in my Wizard of Oz movie? Because like he had the rights for 30. That's what we're watching next week.
Yeah. Then he turned into Red Hulk and said, "I'm gonna stomp out those student loans."
Yeah, Fucking Red Biden came in, so fucking diplomacy. Oh!
The Red Biden. He's got a fucking
Yeah, exactly.
fucking Russian symbol. He's a socialist bastard. Fucking come on. Red Biden. That's
Yeah,
it.
they knew it all.
When we make the Red Biden, he has to have the fucking Russian symbol on his chest. All right, remember that.
Totally.
100%.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all
Just
right.
Did we
got
get
canceled?
canceled? Did we get canceled already? Okay, great.
Yeah, it's all right.
Great. Look, there's always Truth Social. They won't cancel you there, nor on X.
I you know.
Well, Instagram only gives us 45 minutes to talk our bullshit. That's fine. They can go finish it up on YouTube or wherever.
Yeah.
And
It's okay if we get canceled. We're good. Like it's fine. Like I'm okay with that.
It's fine.
Uh,
If you want to go back and watch any number of these shows, please do on the Getting Nerdy page on YouTube. And you will find several cancelable moments for each and every one of us. So you go ahead, like, subscribe, ring that bell, all that jazz. Until next time, for Final Watch It, I am Smoking Phat J.
I am Matt Noir.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Coplander, I think is what it's called.
Yeah. Coplander, I'm Smoking Phat J Train. That's right. I forgot.
There you go.
That's it. And we'll see you next time. Peace.
Bye.
Oh, dude, I can't believe you brought that